It is March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day. I hope you all had a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. It is time for our March meeting here, and I want to thank you all for being here. And we're going to start the meeting off today. I've invited a guest to join us. His name is Joe Volz. He is part of my mastermind peer group with Coach Joe, which a lot of you know, with Magellan. And I got to spend some time with him in Orlando back in February. And he was sharing with me some of the success that he has been having implementing a client referral program in his practice. So Joe is located in Southern California. I will stop there because I don't want to take away any of his thunder. But Joe, welcome to the call. And if you could maybe just start, tell us maybe just quickly a little about yourself, your practice, the success that you've been having, and just kind of what you do with client referrals, because we've been talking a lot about that as a group here. So when I heard your success, I just thought, wow, it'd be so impactful if you could share with us. So thanks again for taking your early morning at 6:30 a.m., by the way, in his neck of the woods. So thank you for getting on the call with us today.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. And Brian, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here. So a little bit of background. I was at Merrill Lynch for 20 years, left after 20 years with my two partners, and we went independent. We've now been on the independent side for almost 9 years now. Our practice, we have about 175 households that has 263 million in assets under management, and our revenue is about 2.1 million. We also have 3 other practices that kind of tuck underneath us. So total assets at our firm is 1.1 billion, and enjoy being in Southern California and all the fruits and opportunities that are out here.
Awesome.
And from the referral process, once we transitioned over from Merrill Lynch, we used to do a lot of stock option plans, and so that's where we drove a lot of our activity in new assets. Transitioned over, spent a couple of years getting custom and adjusted, then really needed to focus on what next level of growth that we wanted to get to. And we happened to be fortunate and connected with Coach Joe Lucas, who really worked with me on my referral game. And for the past 5 years, I really bought in 100%. And the keys to my execution and success really have been with our 155 households. We do about 270 client review meetings a year. So probably more than most, but that's kind of the process that we implemented early on at Merrill Lynch. And in those referrals or in the client review meetings, what we'll do is we will have a net worth statement in every review meeting and go over that with the clients so that we can go through all of their outside assets and try and capture that. Then we'll have an agenda, and in that agenda, we will have 2 key pieces. One is we're going to ask, how can we better serve you? So it allows the client to tell us what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, and things that they'd like to see differently. 90% of the time, it's love you guys, you're doing a great job, happy with what's happening, which then tees up my piece to ask for a referral and say, great, really appreciate that. We really enjoy working with you as well. By the way, and then I'll ask, depending on what's happening. So right now, a great piece is, by the way, given the market volatility, if you happen to have any friends or family that are concerned about what's happening with their portfolios, and they may or may not have heard from their advisor, we would love to be a resource for them. So it's a very comfortable, easy conversation where I'm not saying, hey, by the way, Brian, do you have 2 or 3 friends that you could refer me to because I'm looking to grow my practice? That just, for me, it's uncomfortable and awkward versus just being a resource. It allows the client to really look and see what does a resource mean to them. It could be just someone that asks questions, someone that provides information, or honestly, an advisor that would love to work with them and help manage their assets. So from that referral conversation, I will tailor it. If I know someone's retiring, I'll ask them if they happen to have a colleague that they know that's looking to retire in the near future. If it's a business owner, do you happen to know any other business owners that are looking to, and then depending on what they're doing, I'll structure the referral conversation that way. So I usually have about 5 or 6 different ways that I'll ask a conversation, so that each time I'm meeting with a client, it's not the exact same rote piece, but it's a little bit different so that they hear what's happening. And at the beginning of the year, I might even say, hi, hey, Brian, we are looking to add 5 new clients this year. If you happen to know anybody looking to retire or a business owner that is, looking to exit the practice and needs some succession planning. And I might throw a number out there because I don't want, it allows them to say, oh, we're only growing by 5, so that they feel comfortable, because the more clients that we bring on, the less service they may feel that our time that I have. So I keep it in a very small band, that allows them to feel comfortable that it's about them and not them trying to grow my practice to this, behemoth that they don't get service properly. First year doing this, it's been about 5 years now. It was really uncomfortable, and my partner would put a little sticker on my computer that said, I asked for a referral today. And it just put it on the front of my mind, and we made it a game to hold me accountable, so that each review I would start to ask. In the first year, I did okay and had, some consistency. Didn't see a ton of success immediately, but then as I started to build it the second half of the year and really got comfortable with it, we started to get the referrals. Now, as you look at 2024, I conducted 275 reviews. I had 200 client introduction conversations. From that, we received 64 client referrals. We met with about half, or communicated with half of those referrals, and we converted of the half, 18 into new clients, which resulted in 37 million in new money last year. And then, fortunately, to start the year with the volatility, we've had 15 client referrals, 5 new clients, and 18 million in new money. So it's purely from doing the reviews, having a net worth statement, and then asking for those conversations near the end of the review, just in the natural agenda process.
Joe, there's so much that you said there that I find amazing. First of all, I really like the 2 things in asking for referrals I love that you do is making it about like what that person is in, right? If they're a retiree, would you know anyone else that's retiring? If they're a business owner, hey, do you know another business owner? I love that. The second thing you do that I've never quite thought about before is exclusivity is really attractive to people. Like when you can sell someone, hey, we're only taking 5 clients this year. That's it. And we get our best clients from our clients. So if you know of anyone that's dealing with this or that or whatever, please keep us in mind to help them. I think that is genius. And you're right. I think it does take out a lot of, it lets that client know that you're special, right? And I think that's awesome. So can you just because I want to make sure, well, here's a question for you, Joe. How much does it cost you to do these, to implement this referral program? Like how much, what's your spend? What's your annual spend on this?
It's 0, but I will add, what we started 2.5 years ago is any client that referred to us, sent us a referral, or, for the first 6 months of the year, we do a client advocate dinner. So we ask those clients to come to the dinner, and then we have them, we ask any new clients that they referred that would join the dinner as well. So we'll usually have a nice dinner with about 18 clients and new clients. And it's a nice wine dinner with sommelier and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. But we do that twice a year. Otherwise, it's 0. It's just your time and being uncomfortable.
Yeah. And again, those are some amazing stats. 37 million this last year. I don't know about you, but I think we could all raise our hand and said, who would like 37 million in new assets with 0, very little dollar spend in a year? And I think we would all raise our hand. But you've been implementing this for 5 years, right? So can you just share a little bit about like, look, this isn't like a quick fix that was going to happen, but you have to like, I think what we've been talking about is you got to get this started. You got to get this train out of the station and rolling. Can you talk about kind of the growth over the last 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the first years where it's just hard and it's uncomfortable because I hate to admit it. I was in the business for 23 years before I started this. And I just look back and see, man, I wasted 23 years where I could have had even more success if I would have just implemented this process. So the first year was just, each review, putting it in front of me to make sure I asked for that referral, and I track it on a weekly basis, how many referrals that I asked for from the review meetings. And I'm not really perfect. It could be based on the flow of the conversation. So year one, I would do like, if I had 3 meetings in a day, I might hit one conversation, and I would slowly build. And I didn't see really any success for about 6 months. And then all of a sudden we got a referral in from, a client that I had no idea would even knew anyone that would refer, just, never even thought it crossed my mind. And it was $1 million referral. So then the first year we had probably about 10 referrals in, second half of the year that we converted into maybe 4 clients and, about 5 million in new assets. But from year two, I fully bought in and really committed to it. And it's been the years 3, 4, and 5. We've averaged around 35 to 40 million in new assets just from that process. And we were spending money on, doing different seminars and other activities and events. And finally, we just cut it all out and said, we're committing 100% to this because it's clearly working for us. And I worked with an advisor on our, in our practice outside of my specific team, and have worked with him for 6 months on this. First 4 months, he's like, "This is not working." I said, "You just got to keep doing it." And then it was month 5, he got 4 referrals. Month 6, he got 7 referrals. And he's like, "Okay, once you start to get those referrals, they're a believer." And now it's fun in year 5. Like I'll go to, have some client meetings, and clients will say at the very end themselves, "Hey, by the way, I talked to my friend, you should be hearing from so-and-so." And it just becomes this comfortable, natural process where they're going to tell me ahead of time. They know that, you don't need to ask. I'm already asking you, and I've got a couple people lined up once they call you.
That's awesome. All right, let's open it up. Any questions for Joe?
Let's go back to that. You said you wanted to be a resource for your clients, and and what did you say? You said in if they have questions about investments, or what was that word track, or resource to the referees?
Yep. So what I've been saying this year to start with is I would, after the client tells me how they're doing, I said, by the way, we've, with the current volatility that started the year, if you happen to have any friends or family that are concerned or have not about the markets or have not heard from their advisor, I'd love to be a resource for you. So the key is concern, right? Then you're sure all of your friends are talking about market volatility, and then have they heard from their advisor? Because you'd be surprised how many advisors have not reached out to clients in the past month.
I mean, again, it's like, I think a lot of times we think we have to get this specific script for asking for referrals and just run the same script over and over and over and over and over again, right? Switch it up, right? I mean, talk about, right? There's a lot of market volatility right now. Make it about that. Make it about where they're at in life. If they know anyone else in the same situation, make it about, again, like, I'm only taking so many this year, I mean, maybe this sounds a bit pretentious, but hey, I'm only taking 5 clients this year. Maybe it's the end of the year, and I brought in 4, and I've got room for 1 more, and really trying to, and I get my best clients from my clients. If you know of anyone, that type of thing. I don't know, like, switch it up. What other questions for Joe?
Joe, I'm curious if what was the level of new assets that you're bringing in prior to implementing the referral program? And then also, have you given a thought to why clients weren't referring to you prior to this program? I mean, was it just asking them, or was there something else?
Jordan, great question. I'll answer the first one, your second part first. I was surprised, like, why did we get referrals and why did we get them before? And I think it's because clients, one, didn't think that we needed more business, so they didn't think about it. And two, it might have been they don't want to give you referrals unless you put it in front of them because they want to keep you to themselves. So when we had a good, comfortable conversation, then they started saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that you guys are taking on new business." And I was shocked to hear that. Like, of course I'm taking new business. But so it was just having that conversation. It was a good learning experience. Beforehand, we would bring in probably 2 to 3 households a year from different marketing activities, and it might have been like 5 to 10 million in new money. But we just saw tremendous growth when we really focused on that conversation.
Thanks, Joe.
Sure. And I promise you, I'm not a special salesman. I'm not a genius, anything like that. I was just given, like, here, it's one of those things. If you just do this all year long, after 12 months, you won't believe what the success is. And I bought into it 100% and did it and was uncomfortable. And do I ask for a referral every time? Absolutely not. Some days I might not feeling it and I skip it, and then I know I didn't write it down. But the key is having it on your agenda, tracking yourself so that you can, I set a goal of 175 to 225 referral conversations a year. And so I track myself weekly to see how am I doing against achieving that goal so that I can look back and say, I had a good month, I had a good quarter, and I know that that activity drives all the results that I'm looking for the rest of the year.
Joe, hey, this is Stephen. Thanks for sharing. That's a great insight on, emotionally connecting to your clients and wherever they are at any specific time. When you're doing this, are you doing this as just you, or when you're doing that many reviews, are there other people in your office, other partners that are helping you bring in those assets, or is this basically just all on your shoulders?
I do probably 90% of the review meetings with clients. So that's, my role on the team. I've got another partner that does the other 10%, and she might, she gets maybe 1 to 2 clients a year from the process. So I'm the bulk of that, from the referral conversation. My other partner, he's the portfolio manager, and we keep him locked in the closet doing the investment stuff because he's way too technical, and the clients, unless our top, engineers want to talk to him, but everybody else, he just gets too in the weeds for him.
I understand. Good deal.
Any other questions? Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I would challenge you for the month of the rest of March and all of April is to try it, right? Give yourself 6 weeks and just ask and have those conversations with your clients. Tee it up with, on an agenda, how are we doing? Anything that we can do better? Any concerns that you have? And then after they praise you, because 90% of the time they will, then say, by the way, and you could say with the market volatility, you could say retiring, you could even say taxes. Have you heard from your friends and family that they've had a huge tax bill? If they have, we'd love to be a resource to help them with some of the things that we've done for you to minimize your taxes. Like, just pick a topic or two and try it, with maybe your smaller clients, because if you fumble it through, you don't feel so bad. But do it for 6 weeks and then see what it looks like and what your comfort level is, and track yourself each week, each Friday. How well did I do on executing this?
All right. Any other questions?
I just wanted to make one comment too. We're part of Coach Joe's group too, and so we've heard this, and it is great. And a part of what I've seen too is implementing it when someone does praise you on something that was difficult. So we've had clients, and when they say like, "Oh, thank you so much for making this simple for me for this life insurance policy," and we say, "We're so glad that this brought simplicity to you. If anyone else you know is also struggling, concerned about how to provide for their family or legacy, please let us know, have the introduction," or someone with 401k, or I've had clients call in and about the volatility, and they're like, "Oh, thank you for just giving us this peace of mind. And yeah, if you have heard anyone else who's had that struggle, let them know and send us an email, connect us, share with our website with them so they can see more about us." So even in those moments too, whenever we get that positive affirmation, having very similar, like kind of track of words of right in that moment. So every time they think of that positive thing, they now think of referral. So that's been helpful too.
All right. Thanks, Mary. All right. Well, Joe,
Hey,
I
Brian.
cannot thank
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brian.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Brian Dick.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. Thanks again for the insight. Had the same question Steve had, but brought another question. So when you do get the referral, how does that kind of go? Do they say, "Here's my sister and her husband. I'd love for you to give them a call. Here's their digits," or kind of how do you maybe, because we find when we get referrals, it's like, "Oh yeah, I got this person," and then like we had to follow up, or how do you kind of handle that? Like, what's the handoff of the transition? Now, listen.
Brian, great question. I'm glad you brought that up, actually. So what we do, or what I do, is I say, "Hey, Brian, really appreciate the referral. I found it best when clients send an email to myself and to David to connect us. Would you mind doing that just so that I can, connect and have their contact information?" Because if they just say, "Hey, Brian, my brother Jim really needs an advisor, and I'll let him know." Like, that's the 50% that we don't hear from. Like, we get a name, which is great, and we, put it for a tracking perspective. And then if we haven't heard back in the next review meeting, I'll ask, "Hey, Brian, by the way, I never really heard from Jim. Did he say anything about connecting with me?" Or I might be direct, depending on the client, say, "By the way, would you mind giving me their contact information? Because I'd love to, make sure that they're getting their questions answered." But the best process is asking for that email, the connecting email, so that you now have their email address, and then now you can proactively be following up with them, and then you remove the client from it. The other things I would say is, when we get referrals from clients, we send a handwritten note, just says, "Thank you very much for trusting in our practice. We truly appreciate you thinking of us and referring." So we send that handwritten note. They go on our list as who we want to invite for our client advocate dinner. And I lost the other thought, but no, so no, that's kind of that. Once you do get the referral, that's the piece that is following up directly with them, and then asking later in the referral meeting, which, or in a client review meeting, if you have not got that contact information.
Good question, Brian. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Well, again, Joe, thank you so much for your time today, and I really appreciate you being on this call. This is great stuff, great information, and thanks for sharing with us.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure. And Brian, you can, if anybody has additional questions or wants to ask in more detail, you can give them my contact information. I'd be happy to have a one-on-one conversation just to motivate you to get out there and get your referrals going.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you, Joe.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
All right. Thanks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was good stuff. So we are now at 7:55, which means I've got 5 minutes left. So I'm going to push. We were going to continue the yeah, as you remember, we talked a little bit last week about you know, giving the opportunity for our clients to say no, and really helping using, identifying their emotional pain points and taking them through the sales process and things like that. We're gonna push that to next month's meeting. But I do want to go to this next agenda item here, which is a little homework for the next call next month, because I think this will be good. One of our advisors had reached out to me, and he recently lost a prospect, and the prospect was very detailed on why he went with another firm and didn't go with him. And so I read through it, and we talked it over, and I said, I think this would be a good case as a group for us to go through together. I know none of you are like this. I know you all get 100% of your clients and prospects, and you never lose a client and prospect. But like when he was sharing this with me about 1.5 years ago, actually maybe it was 2 years ago, I lost a very significant client, and for some of the same reasons. So when he was sharing this with me, it kind of really hit home. And what I want to do is share my screen here. Let me figure out how to do that. Minimize this and get to this. I'm on my laptop here. I'm traveling this week. So let's try this and see if it works. Uh-oh, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. All right. So this, I just copy and pasted this right out of the, can you all see this? Someone just unmute and say yes, because I can't even see y'all anymore on my laptop.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. It says, I got your voicemail. I'm not dodging you. Happy to give you feedback. Here's why I went with the other firm. Okay, I align well with the partner's investment strategy, and we had good chemistry. Well, that that is what it is, right? If they feel more comfortable with someone, that's kind of one of those things. They provided very thoughtful, well-written answers, 4 pages total to our questions, and came within 2 days of submission. Clearly what's important to this person was, quick response time and very thorough. But here's some other stuff that, as I think about like our practices here, it said, I liked that they had a very deep bench inside with lots of experience, right? Lots of experienced partners and people with a lot of years and things like that in their firm. They had way more resources in-house. Like, for example, the client that I lost, this firm has an in-house CPA. They have an in-house estate attorney. They have an in-house, I don't know, whatever, stuff. So when they sat down with this person, they had this entire table surrounded with all these experts willing to help them, right? So they have tons of resources inside. And they also had a list of, in this case here, certifications for financial planning. So, they had people with CFPs and things like that. I know a lot of us don't have a CFP or don't have a CFA or something along those lines. And so that's clear, could be an issue there. And then here I thought was really interesting, because I know a lot of you are single practice type people, where it's just you, or you, maybe you have a partner, or maybe you have, maybe it's just you and an assistant or something like that. But they had a clearly defined succession plan with successors included in the meetings. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. So here's what I'd like us to do as a project. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put some other notes to this, okay? And then I'm going to try to create a framework around this. In our call next month, I would like us as a group to kind of crowd solve, like really talk through this as a group. What are some ways that we can overcome some of these objections that a prospect or a client or someone might have, or that one of our competitors might have, right? Because I believe that in our industry right now, there is a ton of consolidation going on. And so a lot of firms are consolidating, and they're building out these behemoths of firms, which they'll check a lot of these boxes, right? And they'll have tons of people and tons of resources and things like that. But I know like the one thing that a lot of these firms will not have is customization, personalized care, like real attention to that individual. Because what they do, right? These private equity firms get in, they buy, they consolidate all these firms up, and then you're going to get the same thing, right? It's like going to McDonald's. You know what you're going to get, and it's going to be the same thing, and they kind of do the same thing for everybody. And I believe that the challenges that we're facing, being customized and nimble, like many of us are, is a huge value add. But we have to overcome some of these objections there. So let me unshare my screen. Any thoughts on that as a project? We'll get something out this month to everybody.